All right, welcome back to In-Game Chat. We're going to talk about the ROG Ally impressions here that we have. Rob, you've had a chance to play with your ROG Ally. What do you think of it? First off, start off with the packaging from 1 to 10.
Let's get starting point. The packaging, I would give it about a 7. I would say around there. Again, I'm comparing this to the Steam Deck, and I think the Steam Deck, it was a very nice packaging experience. That one I probably gave like 8.5, 9. Very pleasant. This one, it definitely felt like you were getting an Asus product. Almost felt like I was opening one of their laptops in a sense. It was kind of weird. But it felt generic at times. Like I said, it was kind of just like, here's everything. I hated whatever plastic they use around, like, to wrap it up. It drove
pain
me
in the
nuts.
ass, dude. Yeah, the pain.
I don't know if it was just me, but it was you too. Like, it was just like extra sticky, and like it was around the joysticks. I'm like, dude, like, come on, like, let's get it. So I give it about a 7 for me.
Even opening up my PS5, like, that felt more like, oh man, like, this is like a premium product, you know, like, this feels premium, but it just didn't feel premium opening it up.
Right. And I think, like I said, I have it up here right now, but like, you open it up and it has everything you need, right? But it's just like, it's fine. It's fine the way you open things up. Like, that is, like, there's some manuals and stuff, but that's literally it, just sitting there in like some cheap plastic wrap looking thing. Right. And that's it. I liked where they put the stand, though. I will give them that. The stand was kind of cool where they ended up putting it, even though the stand is
yeah, it's like on top of the stand.
It's like literally fits in there, which was kind of cool. But
you know, I knocked the stand, but it does the job.
It does the job. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do.
I can't be mad at the guy. It's like it's flimsy. It just looks very cheap. But at the end of the day, you do your job well, and I can't knock you for that. You know what I mean?
Listen, as long as you don't touch it and lift it up.
Yeah.
And guys, we'll talk about it right now. I have it here. And when I say this thing feels like literally toilet paper roll cardboard, that's exactly what it feels like.
As far as the booting system, Rob, does that work? Do you feel like it works well? When you turn it on, when you turn that bad boy back on, do you think it does what it needs to do?
If you're used to setting up Windows PCs, you'll feel right at home here, except it's in like tablet form. The setup was less than stellar. I wasn't excited, I'll tell you that much, to set this thing up. It wasn't like a smooth transition of like where like Steam Deck had its like UI, and it was super nice. Like its OS, like guiding you through everything, like log in here, set this up, or down, you know, same thing goes with a console. It's like, here, we're doing all this. This was just like slapped on Windows and set it up with if you don't have a keyboard, good luck.
And if you've used Windows, I'm sure most of you have, it just feels like Windows in a cramped screen, right? And like, it's funny, I knew that going into this. There's just so many things that you have to boot up and download like the minute you start this thing up, right? That's not what you want to do when you first open this thing up. You want to get in there, maybe do a couple of things to set your profile up, if this was kind of like a Windows based like handheld theme, but it's not. And that's it. And then you get straight to the games. You get straight to whatever you want to do to the interface, but it doesn't do that. And it just kind of like frustrates me, because it's like you're going through barrier after barrier after barrier to get to the best part, right?
Yeah. First off, when I was setting it up, when it like asked you like typing your name or something like that through the Windows process, the screen keyboard would not pop up for me. It just wasn't popping up for whatever reason. Did it pop up for you?
Mm-hmm.
It did. Okay.
It did. Yeah.
So you didn't have to attach a keyboard to it.
I didn't.
Okay. So I know 3 people so far that have had this thing that have had to attach a keyboard to it, myself included. So that was kind of strange. But yeah, I mean, it's setting up Windows, and I wasn't like the biggest fan. Like, usually when you get a handheld, it's like one software update. It's like here's an update,
Yes.
bar, update, everything's up there. But it's like, you got to download all, there's literally a list of things where it's like, it's all that. You have to kind of look for it too, almost. It's weird.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I miss the Steam Deck's interface much more. Obviously, they did a great job. Steam has a way better interface than the Ally so far. It knocks it out of the park because of just how kind of embedded into the system itself it feels, right? Whereas this just, it's like two separate things. You have your console, you have your handheld, and then you have Windows, and then they're like meshed together. And it doesn't mesh well, in my opinion. So that's one of my big issues so far with this. Starting off the first like 15-20 minutes, I'm just like, oh, okay, it's not really grabbing my attention as much as I thought it would be. And again, I knew this was gonna be the case. I knew it was gonna be running Windows, but when you really actually use it yourself, it doesn't feel right. But as far as like the battery goes, you used this for quite some time now. How has the battery been holding up for you?
It's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. I'm not blown out. It really depends on the game you're playing. I haven't had a huge sample size, but I've played on Persona. I like as soon as you unplug it, it pretty much puts it into a performance type mode or energy saver type mode, so lowers down your frames. And if you want, you can take the LEDs off, so they're not, RGB, so it's not draining battery as much. But your mileage will vary depending on the game that you're playing. Again, you're not gonna get like Switch like level batteries or like a MacBook Pro type of battery, like nothing like that, but you will get enough for like a good gaming session for sure.
I played Forza Motorsports,
Okay.
and that was fun. I had a great time playing it. It felt great. It ran well. It ran super well. I don't think there was an issue with the battery per se as of yet, because I think I need more time to really see and kind of dabble with some of the other options that I have. Like, I want to make sure I'm not streaming as opposed to like actually playing a game that's downloaded into the hard drive, something that is making the system work for that, like, graphics and for the frames and all that stuff. And so that might take some time, but then just going through and playing through the interface and stuff, I feel like it works fine. It's not like draining the battery that much. I did remove the RGBs just because it's a little annoying at night when you're just trying to play and you see that like brightness on you. So I just removed that, and I don't think that's really helped as far as saving the battery life. But it's nice that you have that customization, right? If you wanna save on battery, you can save on battery in different ways. There's a battery saver option. There's ways to like remove some of the you can change it to like 120 hertz to 60 hertz. You can change it for your frames. Like, there's things that you can kind of customize similar to the Steam Deck, and hopefully that helps consume less battery. So that's kind of cool. But let's talk about the way this thing feels, because that's one of my highlights for this. I think this thing feels absolutely phenomenal. It has a weight to it. It has this bulky size to it, but not too bulky. I think we talked about this in the past, where it's like right in the middle between a Steam Deck and a Switch, and it just feels good. Like, I don't know. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I automatically like the feeling of this thing better than the Steam Deck. It's not that much smaller than the Steam Deck. It's pretty comparable, but the difference is there's not added bulk of the touchpads on this thing, which is nice. I could care less about the touchpads on the Steam Deck. I just wasn't in Linux that much, going around and using those. Again, like you said, I was either using the touchscreen or I was using the sticks. But yeah, this thing feels great, and I have smaller hands, right? So for me, when a console is a little on the smaller side, benefits me, right? Steam Deck, it kind of felt like too big sometimes. Personally, for me, I like the size of this. I will note that I feel like the back buttons kind of get in the way. If you're putting it back here, like a little more, they're protruding out a little more than the Steam Deck's back buttons were. They were a little more flush. This one, it's a little more exposed. I don't know if you can see it there, but they're a little more out there. But everything else, quality's fantastic, as it should be for what you're paying for a device like this. and I like it. So far I have no complaints about the size of this.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think there's like this nice texture to it that I like. It's not just like this flat like surface. If you feel it, you feel this. There's some type of texture to it on the back, even on the triggers. Like
Got curves, baby. It's got curves.
But I do like where your thumbs, like in the palm, kind of sits. It has like this groove, and it has like several grooves actually that you're able to just like rest your hand on. But again, the texture feels good. It just feels like you're holding something that's not just like a hard plastic or anything like that, right?
Right. Like it feels way nicer and more full than say something like a Switch, right? A Switch, it's literally just a flat pancake, right? Yeah. Whereas this actually
it's more curvy, whereas this is more boxy looking. But if for me, it fits my hands perfectly.
Yeah.
Buttons go, but as far as the buttons go, they feel okay. The XYAB buttons feels are okay. They're actually better than the Steam Deck, at least my Steam Deck. Remember I mentioned to you that
you got
mine were like wiggly, they were like bummy. This feels sturdy. This feels good. This feels like the way they should be. D-pad feels good to me. A lot of people complain about the D-pad, but the D-pad for me looks pretty good and it feels good. Fine. The audio quality, I'm going to jump to the audio side of things. It was, I blasted it all the way. It is fucking great,
loud.
Dude.
It gets loud.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I was playing Persona, and it's like, I'm like vibing to this. I'm like, damn, I got to turn this shit down. It's vibing too hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speakers, perfect. Great. I don't know what kind of speakers are in there, but very good. And then, so the buttons here are pretty good, man. I can't complain. They have a lot of weight, and they have a lot of like sturdiness to it. So I'm glad that they went with the button ergonomics that they did. As far as the screen quality, Rob, I know we compare that a lot to the Steam Deck because Steam Deck doesn't have the best quality as far as the screen goes. So what do you think about the Ally ROG?
It's beautiful.
The ROG Ally, sorry.
It's beautiful. Like I said, I don't ever foresee myself ever taking it off 1080p. It's nice to be able to have a 1080p finally in a handheld that's I'm able to play these games very nice. Like everything looks beautiful on it. Like I played Witcher on it, it looks gorgeous. I played Persona 5 Royal on it, looks gorgeous. I know you played Forza on it, so it probably looked good. Yep. And yeah, I mean the screen is where it's at. Like it is more expensive than a Steam Deck, but it's worth it for that extra screen, in my opinion. I think the screen alone is a huge upgrade. One complaint that I do have on the game is on the Ally ROG, and I think this is my biggest complaint, is the sleep mode on it. The sleep mode for me is kind of weird, right? For me, if I have a handheld, I need to be able to put it down, hit the top button, set it away, and then I pick it up and I immediately get to play the game, right? Here, I will go ahead and press the button. It takes me to the screen, this main screen. Then I put my fingerprint on there and I'm there, right? I get to play. But now it's like almost frozen. I can't do anything on it. See? And we have this message, if you guys can see that. But I have an error message saying Persona 5 Royal is not responding. Wait for program to respond. And guess what? It's not gonna respond, so I have to close out the game. So to me, this is a big no. Like,
have you tried doing it with a game that's not on Game Pass?
I have not. I've only done it on a game that's on Game Pass so far. So I will have to try it on a different game. I think I did try it on Witcher, and I didn't have any issues. But there is some issues with when you want to resume the game. It's very hit or miss with this. So I'm nervous to close out of the games before saving, because I'm like, will it make me close out of my game? Like, will it just kick me out? Right? So this, I'm knocking a big point off for this, because that's bad. It shouldn't happen.
Well, I think it has to do with the Game Pass launcher. And honestly, I don't know if Game Pass is meant to be kind of, and maybe it is, I don't know, maybe I'm just talking, but having a game that you downloaded right from the Game Pass to then boot it back up, I mean, essentially you have it downloaded in your system, so it shouldn't have that issue, right?
Do you think it has something to do with like internet connection, right? Because if you think about it, Game Pass is a subscription service, right? And you have the game installed, but you don't own the game.
Correct.
So if it doesn't detect an internet connection right away, it's like, we don't know if you own this game.
Right.
So maybe that's why Game Pass is the issue, because it needs that constant internet connection to know that, like, hey, I don't know, because if I disconnect the cord from my computer right now, like the LAN cord, and I play a game on Game Pass, like that's installed on my, will it even allow me to play the game?
I think you're right. Maybe it just needs that constant internet connection to make sure that it's validating that it is, it's registering that you're able to play this game now that I have internet connection. So I don't know. Maybe that's the disconnect there, but try it with something else. Try it with a different launcher and see how that works. But
yeah, I'll download a Steam game and I'll run more tests. But so far, that has been a big complaint.
It's a pain in the ass regardless. Like, I agree with you 100%. That's not something that I want to deal with either when I'm playing Game Pass,
Right, and it's just a Windows machine, respectively. Like, you should be able to just do that, right? So I guess we'll see. I'll have to run more tests.
And then last question for you, Rob. Fun factor.
When I'm actually sitting down playing the games, phenomenal. Better than the Steam Deck, in my opinion, right? When everyday like use, I want that handheld experience, and this is kind of not the handheld experience in a sense. Like, if your mission is to like do other things on it, you can do it. It's just kind of a pain in the ass because it doesn't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, games, great, fantastic, and that's why you buy this game. You buy this thing because you want to play games. You want to be able to play any game you want, and it does that. It can play any game you want, no questions asked. It will download and it will play it. All right, grade. Are we doing it out of 10 or are we doing it out of like letter grade?
Let's do letter. What's your letter grade for this?
I'm gonna give this thing an A-.
Wow.
Not perfect. It's not perfect by any means. But it does feel premium once you have it in your hand and you're playing the games. And to me, the most important part of these things is the games, right? That you're able to play the games the way you want them, and makes it, to get there. That's why it's not perfect, right? It's because if it had its own OS and it was just like, boom, there you go, you could just easily, or you could switch between the two very, very quickly or something like that. Then it would be like, oh, this thing's like, A+, S tier kind of deal. But the fact that this is their first tackle at a handheld market, Asus and Windows for the most part, I think they did a really good job. They really, really honed in on the gamer. Like, they put RGB. It's very good looking as far as like the weight goes, and I really like this machine. I do like it. Again, the Windows part is annoying, but it also allows you to do all those things. So it's a double-edged sword. So like, right. I kind of was asking for this. I knew what I was getting myself into. So for me to give it a bad grade because of that, even though I knew what I was getting myself into, it's kind of it's not. It's
silly.
Correct, right? It's not a correct thing, right? So I give it an A-. That's my grade.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a solid B for me.
Yeah, we'll give you more updates as we go along, a more level long-term test. See how it is when we travel, how it is without internet access, how it plays with it's docked when we actually have a good setup where I can actually dock it and play it on a computer and see how it plays as a proper PC. I'm interested actually to really do that, to play it as a PC for full hands-on experience, but eventually we'll be able to talk to you guys about that. But for me, A-, Kelvin B, pretty comparable. Good machine.
Yeah.
But if you got a Steam Deck already,
hold on to it.
Hold on to it.